Welcome to the Made in Iowa podcast. I'm your host, Leisa Fox. Today I get to sit down with my good friend, Nicole Crain. She is the president of ABI, the Iowa Association of Business and Industry. October was a super busy month for them. It was manufacturing month. They did a road tour, they had a manufacturing conference, and they kicked off Leadership Iowa. She's going to give us the review of the month, and then she's going to project into the future and talk about this year's legislative session. Stay tuned, listen to the podcast, share with your friends, and let's connect this manufacturing community. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Nicole Crain, who is the president of ABI, the Iowa Association of Business and Industry. Welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. It's great to be here with you today to talk about all things business and manufacturing in Iowa.
I was so impressed by the way you celebrated the month of October, which is what?
Manufacturing Month.
Manufacturing Month. And you actually had a huge bus that you took to all the rural manufacturers. Talk about how the idea happened, what'd you call it, and what the goal was.
Yeah, so we launched the Elevate Iowa RV Manufacturing Tour on Manufacturing Day, which is October 2nd. And it was actually a Winnebago adventure motorhome.
Built in Iowa,
Built in Iowa in Forest City. Winnebago Industries is one of our great sponsors that allowed us to use their Winnebago to travel around the state. And really our goal was twofold. You know, we hear a lot in the news about different things, and it was really to celebrate manufacturing, celebrate the industry, and showcase all the great manufacturing careers and manufacturers in the state of Iowa. We actually have a program called Elevate Advanced Manufacturing. And during COVID, it got a little dormant because we weren't able to go into manufacturing facilities to educate students and parents about the careers. So we said, what better way to launch, the initiative again, or to relaunch, than to get on a big old Winnebago and drive around the state and showcase with our members and with education partnerships what is happening out and about around Iowa.
What was your biggest takeaway?
Oh, I think, so we had someone, his name's Jamie Vitzum. He went around and he was our driver for the week.
Oh, cool.
And where I'm going to with this is, he said, we should be proud. This makes me proud. It makes me proud to be an Iowan. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what I already knew from our members. They're very proud about their business, their community, their employees are proud. And the biggest takeaway is just the ability to share that publicly, to share that with our legislators, to share a little bit of their story, because our members are so humble. What the takeaway is, we need to keep doing this because our members don't always feel comfortable telling their story. They just want to provide for employees. They want to provide for their community. And that's our role at ABI, is to tell their story.
And where did you go?
Oh my goodness!
You don't have to all of them. But you went from the west side to the east side.
We did a loop. So we also showcased the 2024 Coolest Thing Made in Iowa winner, and the 2025 Coolest Thing Made in Iowa winner.
Who were they?
So Vermeer Corporation was 2024, the ZR5 1200 self-propelled baler, and then the 2025 was the CP 770 cotton picker, which was up at John Deere Des Moines Works, so up in Ankeny.
Okay.
So we kicked off at the Capitol, and the governor was great. She signed a proclamation recognizing October as Manufacturing Month. We had the RV there. The governor signed the RV. We had Director Durham there. Director of Workforce Townsend was there as well. And that's where we started. Then, there was no home game at Iowa State or at the University of Iowa, so we couldn't do a Saturday tailgate. Maybe that's in the future. I know, it'd be a lot of fun. But we did go to Iowa State, and we had a tailgate at Iowa State at the Research Park, where a lot of our members have offices up there as well. We hit up 3M and Ames. I brought you some sandpaper, all the abrasives that you think of, whether it's commercial, industrial, or even residential, are made in Ames. And I don't think a lot of people know that. So Ames, Waterloo, Marshalltown, Fairfield, Independence. So we hit up ag manufacturers. We hit up manufacturers that do Department of Defense work, just a little bit of everything from, we had the smallest manufacturer. We stopped at Ritchie Industries in Conrad. So anywhere from, 50 employees to a few thousand employees.
Awesome. Talk about the workforce. As you toured these facilities, we talk a lot on the podcast about the silver tsunami that's coming. They project 240,000 seniors will be retiring in 2030. Was that reflected in the workforce?
I think it's reflected in the what the manufacturers are doing to attract and retain the workforce. So yes, there is a lot of multi-generational employees, workforces that you could see, whether that be in Independence or whether that be in Oskaloosa. But you see manufacturers really working to find solutions to some of that, the cross training, right? From maybe someone that's been in the company 37 years to someone that's been there 3 weeks. You see it in the way that companies are changing their shifts. They went from 5 8s to 4 10s and 3 12s. You see 24-hour on-site fitness. You see manufacturers not saying we're going to blow the whistle at 7 and the break time is at this and this is at 2. It's, hey, if you need to show up 10 minutes late because you got to take your kids to school, that's okay. And so I think that's what was really interesting too. And that's what I think our members get from being part of the organization is that the best practices. Yes, we're in a manufacturing facility. There's lots of different things that are produced there, but how can we lean into some of the workforce challenges and turn them into solutions and opportunities? But we still heard, Lisa, it didn't matter what community we were in. We still heard workforce is a challenge, and workforce is an area that our members want us to continue to stay focused on.
I think one of the last times I saw you was at the manufacturing conference over in Cedar Rapids. And we talked about IJAG Connect and the partnership that you have with Iowa's Jobs for America's Graduates, right. Cooter, and ABI. The three of you are working together to match employers to students with passions and skills to fill those open jobs.
Yeah.
I am so excited about that and the opportunity to truly inventory the needs. Talk to the audience about how they can help and engage with that process.
Yeah. So right now we're working with IJAG and Cooter and some target pilot school districts to partner both with the schools, with the IJAG students, and with businesses to help match them, as you said, in their interest area. So not just in manufacturing, but that's really one of our targets, but healthcare or, whatever it may be. And
even.
Agriculture. Yeah. And especially, that's the other thing too, when we're in these rural communities, we want to keep these people in those communities. We want these students to know about the businesses that are in their backyard, literally, that they might not be aware of. And so it's a lot of outreach on our part to those businesses to say, hey, we've got these great students. They are your future employees. We'd love to match them. We'd love to have them come into your facility. And so, people are interested in that. We would love to have you reach out to us at ABI, connect with IJAG, and see if we can't get people matched up. And, and also work-based learning is a requirement for students. So we're really working, with our partners on the business side, but also workforce development to figure out how we can best meet those requirements and be a good partner with education institutions. And also what came out of this RV tour is our Crystals of Innovation game, or Innovators Quest. And that's for 4th through 9th graders. So not just, the high school student going into a manufacturing facility and getting a tour, but this is us bringing in a game that has real world things such as you need to put a bridge back together with a 3D pen. You've got to do a circuit to have it's like a caterpillar type thing. So all these skill building things, we've already got tons of interest on that as well.
So talk about who sponsors that?
Yeah.
Where'd you get access to it? And how does the audience connect?
Yeah.
To get that into their schools?
So we had a partnership, a grant from Union Pacific and the Manufacturing Institute, which is our partner at the federal level, part of the National Association of Manufacturers. Their institute is a C3 as well.
Someone I know is on the board there.
Yeah. There's
Aren't you on the board?
I was like, yeah, there's a lot of people on the board there. Like we've got the Vermeers, the Andringas, the Sukovs.
Maybe Nicole Crain.
Yeah. So, well, it's definitely something that we are, wanting to make sure that we get in the schools. And IJAG is another, we plan to partner with them, and we're still partnering with them of how we get those in those IJAG classrooms. But we just mentioned our manufacturing conference last week, and we showed them a little bit about it. And we had QR code. People immediately reached out, said, we want this in the Ankeny 4th grade class. There's like 400 4th graders that we have the potential to reach, and just one day. And these are, again, it's not going into the manufacturing facility, but showing the skills that you need. And that's something we hear from our members, is that skill set isn't necessarily there when they come into the workplace. So
I interviewed someone last week on the podcast that is very frustrated with I think they reached out to 30 different schools for Manufacturing Month to say, we'd love to come out. We'd love to have them here. You tell us how we can partner, but we want to highlight our company within your schools. Do you know how many they heard back from?
None. At least yeah.
2 out of 30.
Yeah.
So we've also got to get the educational leadership tuned into this work-based learning and be more open to an alternative way to think about education and deliver that experiential learning.
And that's exactly what our partnership with iJag Connect, the Crystals of Innovation, and that's what we did in a couple of communities on this RV tour. So Marshalltown, man, have they invested in their school? We were both at the high school and the community college to see how they work together. You had Emerson there as well. We spent the entire day, and as part of that, we had, like I said, we had the director of workforce, Beth Townsend was there. We had 3 state legislators there, a state senator and 2 state representatives that spent the entire day with us learning about how Marshalltown had invested in their career and technical education program, the new, how to plumb a house. What if the washer and dryer is on the 2nd floor and there's a water leak? What do you do? And so they are doing those real world things in the high school. And then when we went over to the community college, our visit, the lieutenant governor was there, and that was right in the middle of a class. And it was great to see. They had a plasma cutter there. They had all this type of real world equipment that manufacturers use. And it was cool to see also the partnership that, Emerson and other companies donated scrap, donated old equipment, or bought new equipment so that students in that community would know to stay in that community, what they were potentially going to have the opportunity to work on if they, went to work at Emerson or if they went to work at Marshalltown company. So that was really cool. Another place was Oskaloosa when we were at Musco, and that's where we did the game. They had, 3 or 4 sections of class from Indian Hills and William Penn there.
Could you have a sexier product?
It was,
by the way.
Yeah.
They're in every major league baseball. They're everywhere.
And
their lights are everywhere.
Their story and their new facility, beautiful. But just seeing how they talked about, common sense solutions, use common sense. It doesn't have to be the flashiest solution. And they talked about how, when there wasn't a way to figure out if the lights would withstand wind or how much wind speed. They put it on the back of a Ford Ranger and drove down the runway at the local airport. So just all these things that come up with solutions. And I think that's, that, to your point too, about getting to the schools, that's the stories we want to tell. We want to tell educators, I know the state does externships, but how do we teach educators about that, but also students? And so those are a couple other takeaways that we got from this RV tour and really helped elevate, pun intended, the industry, but also those that maybe aren't familiar with ABI and our other offerings that we have. Like, we want to be part of the solution. We have the work, we have the employers. So we need the talent pipeline, and how we're becoming part of that solution. I think,
and I say all the time to manufacturers, you've got to recruit your relative percentage of the workforce.
Yeah.
And the only way they can do that is to get out and tell your story.
Yeah,
exactly. And be a
exactly.
part of the community.
Yeah.
And it's hard because there is so much that goes into manufacturing that sometimes it's head down, crisis of the day. But if they don't look up and really engage, 2030 is right around the corner.
Yeah. Oh, that was the thing with this Innovators Quest, right? But today's 4th graders in 2033 is, they're entering the workforce. I'm like, that's only 8 years from now. That, it comes fast. And so that's why we have to start it. We can't start it when someone's a sophomore in high school.
Right.
And it's also telling the story, but not just that, we need everything in manufacturing. We need accountants. We need attorneys. We need engineers. We need HR professionals. We need production folks. Marketing, everything.
All the things.
Yeah.
All right. In addition to the tour, you had a busy October Because you also had your advanced manufacturing conference.
We did.
Talk about the headliners, the winners of the Legacy Award.
Yeah, it's we covered over 500 miles, 20 stops, proclamation, and a 370 person manufacturing conference in 18 days. So that was pretty, actually
Smart.
might have been, it was, there was a lot of energy. The team was amazing. The ABI team just always on the road, wanting to make sure we're serving our members and representing the organization. So the conference, just lots of buzz. We moved it back to Prairie Meadows because we had outgrown our FFA Enrichment Center location. And so the winners were Bill Bywater for the under 100 employees. And, I was actually surprised when he was nominated. I thought he was a legend. I mean, I refer to him as a legend. And he, his company, Economy Advertising, True Art, Bankers Advertising, they've been around. They're at fifth, sixth generation, as you know. They founded. They were one of the
Out
founders.
of Iowa City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the
Great
founders of the
company.
organization. Marshalltown Company out of Marshalltown.
Okay.
And then Kemin Industries, which they were also another stop. And wow, to
they're
think
doing
all of
amazing
that
things.
is happening in Des Moines. We had Secretary of Agriculture there, Senator Bizignano, Senator Pike. We had 3 state senators and a state legislator visiting Kemin on that last day before our manufacturing conference. And they had no idea all that, and where right there in Southeast Des Moines. And so Kemin Industries was also a legend, RW and Mary. And then for our manufacturing champion, it was David Ottavinelli, who retired from John Deere, but was really instrumental in their apprenticeships, hiring veterans. He spoke a lot on some different webinars Iowa Workforce Development has had. He's talked to other companies to help them start up their work-based learning. So just a great celebration. When we talk about culture, and that's something we talk a lot about in manufacturing in all industries. We had a gentleman, our keynote speaker was Eric Termundi.
I heard great things about him.
Yeah, it was just very engaging. So everyone, regardless of age or, whether it was our administrative assistant and our marketing person or the owner of 150 employee manufacturing, company, they all came to me and said, I loved this speaker. He had so many takeaways. I took the whole notes the whole time.
So give us the 30,000 foot view of
he
his
talked
presentation.
about culture, like don't apologize for your culture, and not everyone's going to fit your culture. And so also he talked about 1 degree shifts. So think about just 1 degree shifts you can make and how big of a difference that can make in your company. And he was talking about a coach. He was like, yeah, I know my team, but I don't know anything about their history, their heartbreak, their hopes, so talks even about, some things that probably we think about, but it's not in front of us. I also shared about putting a SWAT team together there was a product that was declining sales. And so they said, okay, there's no dumb idea. There's no dumb question. Look at this, analyze this, give us your best solution, anything. And the SWAT team ended up being interns and first year employees.
No kidding.
He said, these are the employees of the future.
Wow.
And so just those things in the context he put it and the way he delivered it was just really, really insightful.
All right, we're going to cast your mind back.
Okay.
Before October.
Okay, yeah.
The last time we talked, you were headed to D.C.
Yeah.
to have some conversations federally. What'd you bring back?
So, we are fortunate in Iowa to have the delegation that we do representing us in Congress. We spent a lot of time talking to the delegation about the tax bill that passed earlier this summer and was signed into law in July. And the certainty in a world of uncertainty and disruption is the name of the game, that our members have certainty when it comes to what are they going to expect if they want to make those capital expenditures. The Section 179, the bonus depreciation, we can get real wonky on tax policy, but they were very supportive. The entire delegation supported that. We talked specific examples. We also shared with them about trade, how that's impacting some, how it's not impacting others. We learned about, if there are some things that the delegation can do to not be shy about reaching out to them. And it was also, one thing we took back is there were, we take about 15 people, so a smaller group. We can still meet in the offices, but we had the opportunity to have our leadership meet with one another and learn about the partnerships. For example, International Paper. They make cardboard boxes, but Hormel and International Paper already have a partnership. And so they just made even those connections. And then we met the Small Business Administration on Thursday, so our last day. Lisa Shimkat, Associate Administrator, used to be right here in Iowa, talked to us about what they're specifically doing for manufacturing, their MARC loans, different programs that they're rolling out. And that was super helpful to bring back. And we've shared that in a couple of our newsletters. But it was impressive to see their responsiveness. Sometimes you think you send a letter into an administrative office, whether it be SBA or IRS, and it goes into this black hole and maybe you never see it again. They were super responsive. And they also said, hey, if you've got a challenge with other agencies or you're not hearing back, reach out to us. We are your advocates. So I think, that's a message to the audience is don't discount the work the SBA can do and can support you as you're trying to navigate some of those federal waters.
Energy policy. It's a lot of debate right now on the federal policy, sort of weaning us away from the credits in wind and solar, but then kind of amping up other energy options.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway there?
We've been definitely from an association standpoint an all of the above approach.
Okay.
And I think what we're seeing is that the need for energy consumption, energy demand is increasing.
Right.
And, I think that from that perspective, we, a lot of our members that attended that trip are energy users.
Right.
And I think that's our message is we want to make sure that as we look at base load expansion, that it is an all of the above approach. Let's look at nuclear, let's look at wind, let's look at all those things, but we need to make sure that we have reliable energy. And so we didn't dive really into the weeds on energy policy, but it's definitely something that I think is going to continue to be the conversation. And we received a briefing on it from our friends at the National Association of Manufacturers. And so something that we know there's a lot of resources out there, but I think our membership overall has done a good job of connecting with their providers on that.
Yeah.
That's a fun topic, Lisa.
Glad I threw you that one, that curveball. Let's right now go into the future. Mm-hmm. So we're in November now. You've got a couple of months before the session begins.
Yeah.
You guys start every year with a legislative reception that brings together all of the legislators from all over the state. What are you hoping to accomplish this session? Are there things out there that you need the support of the listeners to get past the finish line?
I think the topic that everyone is talking about right now is taxes, and property taxes specifically. That doesn't just affect commercial and industrial or agriculture, it also affects homeowners. And so that's something that we want to be part of the solution, part of as they're thinking of how will this affect companies, that we're able to provide that feedback. Our members are very, like I said already, and this whole RV tour, they're supportive of their communities. They pay their taxes, they go above and beyond. And so there is that balance. But I think for the listeners, it's, okay, how are property taxes affecting you? How are they impacting your ability to grow? I think that's one thing. Workforce, the DOGE report just recently came out in the state of Iowa. What does that mean for workforce training programs? What do employers need in that space? And that we spent a lot of time on the RV tour hearing from employers how they do their training, hearing from partnerships that work really well, depending on where you're at, and hearing from areas that could use a little bit more attention. And so I think that's something that as we see different proposals coming out, the feedback from the members and from the listeners is really important that we would love to hear.
Awesome. And then let's go even further.
Yeah.
You've got an annual conference.
We do.
That you do every year. Last year you were Council Bluffs, correct?
We were.
And where are we headed this year? And when does registration open? And what can they expect?
Yeah, Iowa City, Coralville this year. And that's just a fun place, that Iowa River Landing. Lisa, you probably remember the first time we were in Iowa City, Coralville was probably also my first conference, 2008 maybe.
The
floods? Yeah.
We were throwing sandbags out the back.
Yeah. The power was going out in the hotel as we were driving out. The parking ramp was literally flooding. So that
we also had a tornado on the golf course.
Yes.
So
that's
and no weather that year.
No weather.
So
none at all.
No PTSD.
None
when you
uncertainty.
Go back.
No.
Right.
No. And then the next time, not the next time, but then another time. So 2021, we were back there.
Yep.
Right after COVID. We were the first large conference to get, together after that. It was June of 21. We left the hotel and then we went from Marriott to Hyatt. So we'll be at the Coralville Hyatt. We're really excited. June 2nd through 4th, the hotel blocks are already 2/3 full.
My gosh.
Really excited. We have one keynote already, Donna Orender. You'll see more about that. Registration will open in February. Registration will open soon for our legislative briefing reception. That's January 14th. But really, I think there's a lot of momentum right now. I think as we are all in this, it's not new anymore, right? Like we're used to the uncertainty. We're used to pivoting all the time. Those are the buzzwords that we live in these days. But I think the relationships are more important than ever. And I think those, whether it be the manufacturing conference, the annual conference, the legislative briefing and reception for people to gather and talk about what they're seeing, whether it be in business or in the legislative space, is more important than ever. So,
and I'll end the conversation with the foundation. ABI has a foundation that houses programs that are making a workforce difference.
Yeah.
And the first of those is Business Horizons.
Yeah.
And when is enrollment? When do people apply? Talk about Business Horizons and what it is.
Yeah, and that program has been around, Business Horizons for high school students. It's been around for over 40 years. It's our second oldest program. Looking at also, it started with a junk game. So you created a product out of junk, literally. And duct tape. And that's evolved with technology. So this next year, we're also looking at how do we continue to evolve that? How do we implement some AI? How do we... we're also going to bring in the Innovators Quest game. How do we bring some of those other tangible things into that program and into that curriculum? So that's open for all high school students. If you're interested, you can find out information on our website, iowaabi.org. We're taking interest in applications right now. Okay. We'll be at Grandview. So
cool.
Yeah, so a new location. And then we have Leadership Iowa University, which is for college students. That's a smaller program, one of our newer ones, as you know, but the results we hear from that, specifically about, I thought I would stay in Iowa, and the question before, and then the question after, it's really remarkable. And they get to network with executives. They get to see businesses, all different types of businesses. And they get to, stay in a hotel for a week. And so from a college kid, that's pretty awesome too. And then Leadership Iowa, which so many of the listeners have probably, participated in the program or have heard of that. But that is really our flagship leadership program. We're a few months in now. It kicked off in October as well. Oh yeah, we also kicked that off the day before the RV tour.
Let's add one more thing.
Let's add one more thing. It's great. It keeps us moving, and it is very engaging. So, we'll graduate the Leadership Iowa class in June as well. We're always taking nominations. So if people are interested in the next cohort, and then the Elevate initiative and the iJag Connect, that's all part of our foundation. So lots of things that we're really doing, not just programmatic, but also future, looking at the future and how can we be strategic and how can we be thought leaders in that space as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all you do and all that ABI does to support manufacturing in Iowa. And you've got an empty seat here anytime you want to come back and update the audience on things that you've got going on.
Great. Well, it's so great to be with you today, Lisa. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to just connect. We could talk all day. We've got so many things, but I know we're limited on time. So just appreciate the opportunity to tell a little about what's going on and all that we have to look forward to in Iowa's economy and future growth.
Awesome. Well, we'll do it again soon.
Awesome. Thank you.